यन्मायावशवर्ति विश्वमखिलम् ब्रह्मादिदेवासुरा यत्सत्त्वादमृषैव भाति सकलं रज्जो यथा हेर्भ्रमः यत्पादप्लवमेकमेव हि भवाम्बोधे स्थितिर्षावताम् वन्देऽहं तमशेषकारणपरं रामाख्यमीशं हरिम्। श्रीराम जय जय राम ॐ 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 जय जय राम ॐ जय राम ॐ। यावर रामचंद्र की जय। Hari Om. We had seen that in Ramayana, Goswamiji has described 3 cities. One is Mithila Nagari, second one is Ayodhya, third one is Lanka. Right from the time when Bhagwan entered Mithila Nagari with Vishwamitra Rishi, from that point to this prasanga that we just saw in the last session, where the Dutas from Janak Maharaj from Mithila Nagari are sent to Ayodhya, Goswamiji has painted a very beautiful picture of how this Mithila Nagari is. First, he showed us how is the king of Mithila Nagari. Janak Maharaj, he is a Brahmajnani and a devotee of the Lord in his heart. When he sees Bhagwan, he recognizes him without anybody saying anything. Such is the king of Mithila Nagari. Then he showed us what is the nature of the children of Mithila Nagari, the people, the citizens of Mithila, how much of love they have for Bhagwan. Leaving everything, they go behind him. Some of them try to touch him, some of them try to take him somewhere, show that Yajna Mandap and everything. He also showed us how are the artisans in Mithila Nagari, how much of attention to detail. The prosperity of Mithila Nagari is so great. And then finally, he even showed us how are the messengers of Mithila Nagari. Even they are so well read, having deeper perspective about life, and also their bhavanas, emotions are very, very beautiful. The way in which they express themselves to Dasharath Maharaj, this is something that we can appreciate. As though Goswamiji is painting the picture of what is meant by true Abhyudaya. Abhyudaya means prosperity, but that prosperity which comes with inner joy, inner unfoldment. That kind of Abhyudaya, these Mithila Nagaris, they had. Mithila Vasis, they had. And that city, or the kingdom of Mithila, that was prosperous in its true sense. Now when the messengers have given that message to Dasharath Maharaj, many beautiful chaupais we saw, in particular the third chaupai after 292 Doha. Deva deki tava balakadu avana akitara avataku. After seeing Bhagwan Rama and Lakshmanji, nothing else remains to be seen. Bhagavad Darshana is a absolute fulfillment of any darshan. Eyes, if they have to see anything, what is the best thing one can see? This is Bhagwan's form. We saw the symbolic meaning also. Yatra yatra mano yati, tatra tatra samadhaya. If one has understood adhisthana, the substratum, then wherever you see name and form, there one can recognize the substratum. You remember the wooden statue example we had seen. Once we know that this statue is nothing but the wood, wherever you point out in that statue, attention will go on the wood. Okay, in this way also we can look at it. Now Dashrath Maharaj is coming to Vasishtha Maharshi, his Kula Guru, and is telling him about the letter that has come from Janak Maharaj. We'll chant after 293 Doha. One Doha we will chant. सुनि बोले गुर अति सुख पाई, पुण्य पुरुष कहु महि सुख छाई। जिमि सरिता सागर महु जाहि, यद्यपि ताहि कामना नाहि। तिमि सुख संपत्ति बिनहि बोलाए, धर्मशील पहि जाहि सुभाए। तुम गुर विप्रधेनु सुर सेबी, तसि पुनीत कौसल्या देवी। सुकृति तुम समान जग माही, भयउ नहै को होने नाही। तुम ते अधिक पुण्य बड़ काके, राजन राम सरिस सुत जाके। वीर विनीत धर्म व्रत धारी, गुण सागर बर बालक चारी। तुम कहु सर्व काल कल्याणा, सजहु बरात बजाई निशाना। चलहु बेग सुनि गुर बचन, भले ही नाथ सिरुनाई। भूपति गवने भवन तब, नूतन वासुदेवाय। सियावर रामचंद्र की जय, पवन सुत हनुमान की जय। उमापति महादेव की जय, बोलो भाई सब संतन की जय। श्री सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। Vasishtha Maharshi is telling Dashrath Maharaj, these are very beautiful chaupais for Mananam. What is Vasishtha Maharshi telling? That whenever happiness comes in our life, whenever good things come in our life, we should appreciate this point that sukham or happiness has come to us because of some reason. It cannot be random that suddenly something good has happened. So what is the cause for this sukham? He said the cause for this sukham is punya. Suni bole gura ati sukha pai, punya purusha kahu mahi sukha chai. For that person who has done punya, this sukham will be naturally present in that person's life. Like what example is giving? Just like rivers gush into that ocean, even without that ocean calling them. The ocean is not inviting the rivers to come, but still those rivers go and merge in that ocean. Jimi sarita sagara mahu jahi, jadyapi tahi kamana nahi. Ocean has no desire that river should come. In that way, this person who has done punya, even if he doesn't want sukham, that sukham will come to that person. Timi sukha sampati bina hi bulaye. Without asking, happiness will come. Dharma sila pahi jahi subhaye. This is the nature of dharma shila. Those who are doing dharma. For those people, this will be naturally happening in their life. Now this when we read, there should be a doubt. He said everybody doesn't believe in punya, right? Only Sanatan Dharma we say Punya is there and that will give Sukham. If somebody works hard, you say prosperity will be there. What has Punya got to do with it? This is where our understanding of Dharma Shastra, our faith in Vedas, that comes to be tested. Because this sambandha, this relationship between Punya and Sukham cannot be seen with physical eyes. This relation is established by the Vedas, and if somebody has faith in Vedas, they'll come to appreciate this sambandha. That is why Goswamiji is very carefully writing two words together. He says, Timi Sukha Sampati Binahi Bulai. Meaning what? There can be sampati, there can be prosperity, but it is not guaranteed that wherever there is prosperity, there will be Sukham. Right? So he says if Sukham has to come, that will come through Punya. Okay, this is the meaning of Abhyudaya also, what we just saw in Mithila Nagari's description. But just appreciating this point that Punya has a lot of power. What is the main power of it? It will bring Sukham in our life. Now, this is a step in our understanding, right? How we say we have different steps that we climb in our sadhana. Now, before we go to understanding that ignorance is the cause of bondage, or directly coming to Vedantic solution, that unless I know my nature as pure consciousness, there is no liberation from this bondage. Before we go to that step, this is the intermediate step. Somebody who has come to understand that if I want happiness in my life, I should do punya karma. With that also, our ups and downs in life will be mellowed down. Right? Why? Because on the strength of Sukham gained through punya karma. Now the question will become, how should one get punya karma? Right? If somebody says punya karma is going to give Sukham, what is the means to get punya karma? You say read Sadhana Panchakam. Starting from Vedo Nityam Adhiyatam, Taduditam Karma Swanushthiyatam. All those verses until the point where we enter Vedanta, whatever sadhanas are mentioned there, all are for punya karma. Listening to satsang, doing our sadhana. Vedvyasji summarized it in only one word. He said, Parahita gives punya. Parahita means thinking about good of others. That gives punya. That is the best way for us, simplest way for us to gather punya. But of course, there are other specific ways, like when we do our own, Vedic anushtanam, rituals, all of them when they are done with Shraddha, and if possible, with Nishkama Bhava. That Bhagwan, I am doing this only to please you. That punya which comes, that is called as Nishkama, punya. Nishkama punya will give Sukham at mind level. Sakama punya will give prosperity outside. But Nishkama will ensure that our mind is also happy. Then Vasishtha Rishi is pointing out the greatness of Dashrath Maharaj. He says, you have gained this punya by serving Guru, Brahmanas, cows and Devatas. Tumagura Bipra Dhenu Sura Sebi, Tasi Punita Kausalya Devi. Not only you are one who is following Dharma, even Kausalya ji, she is also so dharmic, so pious in her personality. And Vasishtha Maharshi says, Dashrath Maharaj, your punya is such that there was none who can match you with your punya, and there will be none in the future who can do that matching. means you have done so much of good work that Bhagwan took avatar in your home. Tumate adhika punya bada kaake, Rajana Ram Sarisa Suta Jake. Sometimes by looking at the result, you can estimate what must be the punya. Right? If somebody has become Indra, then you say to go to that position and to have so much of things, he must have gathered so much of punya. But in somebody's house, Bhagwan takes avatara. Vasishtha Rishi says, I can only imagine how much of punya karma you must have done in the past. Then he is telling Dashrath Maharaj, one is keep doing this punya, and second is appreciate that there are several things in life that only this punya can give us. Just like if children are, very good and they're giving sukham, that cannot be with any other reason but for this punya. Good friends for that matter, right? We cannot demand it, nor can we get it through any other means. All sambandhas, all relations that we have, they are this result of punya karma. He's just pointing out the four sons, Bhagwan, Rama, Lakshmanji, Bharatji and Shatrugnaji. He says, how are they? They are vinita, very humble. Dharma brata dhari, they have taken so many vratas, very dharmic they are, and Veera, very strong. That is their nature. Guna sagara bara balakachari, and they are very, very cultured. Now these things, Dashrath Maharaj, you cannot get otherwise. The only source for that is punya karma. So one should keep gathering this punya. Now having heard this, Vasishtha Rishi tells him that go quickly and start arranging everything. We have to go to Mithila now, get all preparations done for the journey. So Dashrath Maharaj says, bows down and says, whatever is your command. Because he is his teacher. So much of reverence Dashrath Maharaj has for Vasishtha Rishi. And then he goes to his palace, but after providing accommodation to the messengers. That much of care he takes. Atiti Devo Bhava. They have come from Janak Maharaj's place. They have to be made comfortable in Ayodhya. He goes to his palace and calls all the queens and reads out the letter loudly. All of them are so happy listening to the good news which are there. And he also tells them what all other things were told by these messengers. Their beautiful way of expressing all the things they said about what Bhagwan Rama and Lakshmanji did in Mithila Nagari. The queens, they were so delighted. Now Goswamiji has to express, right? How was their joy? He says their joy was such, like the peacock feels in the heart when there is thunder. When it's about to rain, the joy that this peacock has, that it will spread out its wings and dance. Such kind of joy the queens felt in their heart when they heard this letter. Now they didn't have Bhagwan to embrace. Lakshmanji was not there, Bhagwan Rama was not there. So they just take the letter and embrace that letter. In their heart they have so much of joy. And Dashrath Maharaj is just remembering what all things Bhagwan did. Smruti of Bhagwan's Leelas. Just remembering Bhagwan's Leela gives a lot of joy. So Dashrath Maharaj is remembering everything that Bhagwan has done. And with that he is just reveling. But in and through this joy which is there in Ayodhya right now, a very subtle indicator is given. You see the fourth chaupai after 294, or the one chaupai above 295. Muni prasadu kahi dwara sidhaye, ranina taba mahi deva bulaye. All the queens, they were so happy, but in their happiness, they made sure that they called all brahmanas and they gave lot of danam, lot of charity they gave to all these brahmanas. Diye dana ananda sameta chale biprabara asisha deta. And all those Brahmanas in return, they blessed all the queens, Dashrath Maharaj, with lot of good wishes. Their blessings were there on this family. And they also called all other bhikshus who were there. They were also called, and Danam was given to them. This point you see in every happy occasion in Ramcharitmanas. Even Bhagavatam also we see that whenever there is joy, there is giving. Now Mahatmas, they give several perspectives why this is there. One perspective is, Bhagwan says in Bhagavad Gita, we should have ananda but not harsha. In 12th chapter he says, my devotee is the one yona hrishyati na dveshti. Means he doesn't get overexcited in anything which happens good, because the thing which happens after that excitement is there is a chance that one can cross dharma. Rushtaha drupyati druptaha dharmam atikramati. There is a verse in Manusmriti that whenever there is overexcitement, there is a chance that dharma can be crossed over. Means unknowingly, in that joy also, there can be something that this person ends up doing that he should not be doing. Okay, celebration or whatever you say. So there, to keep the mind in sattva, Danam was given. Okay, so that harsha is not there, ananda is there. Second reason is that whatever they have received, they were very clear it is not our own effort. Bhagwan will say in 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Yajna Shishtashinas Santaha Muchyante Sarva Kilbishai. Means those who get results of their yajna, right? Lot of prosperity comes, everything, happiness comes in life. But they are very clear that they have to share this back to the society. Why? Because it's a cycle. Right? More we give, more we get. Whatever we have given in the past, that has come back now as this happiness, as this sampatti. That has to go back again. It cannot stay over here. Once it stays, then again, that cycle will not be complete. So those who give away everything, whatever comes to them, and they rejoice in whatever remains, those people, Bhagavan says, their mind is purified and they'll be happy in life. Okay, that is from Karma Siddhanta standpoint, that whenever we have gotten many things in life, it is not our own effort. Bhagwan's grace is there and so many other people have contributed. Okay. And the last one is, this punya works in a very strange way. It is just like our credit, right? Or credit card, whatever you say. There is a limit, right? They say this much you can withdraw. Once that is exhausted, unless you refill it, you cannot use it again. Right? So punya is like that credit limit. So if we are having sukham, that means some punya is already getting exhausted. So that punya we have used up, and that is in the form of this sukham. So that danam is symbolic of this fact that Bhagavan, may this sukham continue in our life. May we be inspired to do more and more punya karma, and may this sukham be always there. Okay, that is the third way to look at it. Why there was danam being given in happy occasions. One is to keep the mind equanimous, that when something is good happening, mind should not get overexcited. Okay, and second is gratitude, that everything we have received is because of so many things. And third one is, whenever punya comes, or whenever sukham comes, that means punya is getting exhausted. So to keep that punya account, healthy, this danam was given. All these bhikshus who were there, they went away dressed very nicely. Means that much of danam Dasharath Maharaj gave and the queens gave to everybody there. And then the news spread all over Ayodhya. There was celebration, drums were being played, everything was happening. Very festive mood in Ayodhya. And it's so interesting that just like in Mithila Nagari, everybody in Ayodhya felt there was a wedding in their own house. Not in Dasharath Maharaj's house, but their own house, there was a wedding. Goswamiji uses different, metaphors to explain how was this joy in Ayodhya. He says the 14 worlds got delighted just by listening to this news. Like that, there was joy in Ayodhya Nagari. And he said people started decorating their own houses, all the streets, everything was very nicely getting decorated. Ayodhya was beautiful naturally. Even without any decoration, if you went to that city, it was so beautiful. Jadyapi avada sadaiva suhavani Ramapuri mangalamaya pavani. Why? Because Bhagavan Rama was born. It is of the nature of auspiciousness and beauty. Tadapi priti ke priti suhai. But still, overpowered by the love of Ayodhyavasis to the embodiment of love. Who is embodiment of love? Bhagavan Rama. But because of this love of Ayodhyavasis to Bhagavan Rama, who is the embodiment of love, today Ayodhya was even more, shining in its beauty. Now, what are the decorations in Ayodhya? Just like Mithila, everything is natural. Okay, you look at the fourth chaupai after 295. There are flags. Dhwaja means a flag, which has a very symbolic meaning, like a national flag or something. And pataka means, festoons, something like a triangular shape, which need not have a symbolic meaning to it. All of them are placed. There is tapestry, chamara, different. They are like hairy, things which are used for Bhagavan. They are also used for decoration. Different types of canopies are made in the market. Very similar to Mithila. You remember how the canopies in Mithila Nagari market were? Same way in Ayodhya also. Their pots are made of gold. For Purna Kumbha and all, they must be using. Golden pots are there. Not mango leaves. Torana means the thing that we tie outside. Generally, there are mango leaves which are used. In addition to mango leaves, all jewels and gems are used in those torana. Turmeric is there. Durva, what we use for Lord Ganesha. Durva grass. With that, they are decorating. Yogurt and akshata. All auspicious things, they are used and different malas are made. Everybody is decorating their own houses. They sprinkle the streets with scented water and they draw their rangoli, which is fragrant. Beeti Sinchi Chatura Sama Chauke Charu Purai, 296. The rangoli which they are making is made up of a paste which has sandalwood, saffron, musk, and camphor. 4 things they are mixing. With that, they are sprinkling the streets and also making the rangoli with that. And all the Suhaganis, like how Mithila Nagari had Sakhis, over here they are Suhaganis. They gather and they make their own groups. They have to sing now, all of them. So probably they must have chosen the right shrutis, those who are in one swara, they will form one group, second swara, second group, and so on. And they sing very beautiful, melodious songs. Goswamiji is painting whatever is happening in Ayodhya right now. All houses are getting decorated. The Suhaganis are getting together and they are singing. Now he says, let us take the camera to Dasharath Maharaj's palace. How is this palace getting decorated? Bhupa bhavana kimi jai bakhana, biswa bimohana racheu bitana. Second chaupai after 296. It is so beautiful that you cannot describe how is Janak Maharaj's, how is Dashrath Maharaj's palace right now. The mandapa which he has made, that also is very, very exquisite, indescribable mandapam he has. And everything that he is using is Mangalam. Mangalam means looking at that, there is a sense of auspiciousness that comes in our mind. Okay, whatever ingredients he is using. And then there are different Veda mantras that are getting chanted, different appropriate Vedic hymns, they are chanted at the right time. So Goswami is pointing us that these are the things which will make an occasion auspicious. One is dravya. Dravya means objects. So if you use those kind of objects which are used in our regular pujas or other places, that will invoke sense of auspiciousness, but also these Veda mantras. Okay. So background should be that in these occasions. Now he says, it was as though Janak Maharaj's palace had a brim, and just like you have this milk, which is overflowing from the top, this is, there was joy which was captured in that Janak Maharaj's fort or palace, and that palace was falling short, and this joy was overflowing from that palace. Everybody is so enthusiastic inside that now we have to go to Mithila and Bhagwan Rama is going to get married. Bahuta uchau bhavana ati thora, manahu umagi chala chahu ora. This joy was overflowing in all directions, and as though his palace was falling short to contain this joy inside. Sobha dasarata bhavana kai ko kabi barane para, jahan sakala surasi samani Rama leena avatar. Again, Goswamiji says, where Bhagwan has taken avatar, who can describe the beauty of that palace of Dashrath Maharaj? Now Goswamiji has a very difficult task in his hand. And you see how skillfully he is going to accomplish it. What is the task? With words he has to paint how is the marriage procession. Okay, with chaupais and with words he has to tell us how is Dashrath Maharaj taking his entire, bridegroom's party all the way to Mithila Nagari. So he takes three aspects. One is, he says, the horses which are there in that entire, Bharat, that he describes. The elephants which are there, those he describes. And then chariots which are there, those he describes. Horses, elephants, chariots. And he just multiplies it. He says, like this, there were several of them. And then he takes another portion. He says there were foot soldiers also. There were people on palanquin also. And what all things they were doing on the way. What all things they saw on the way, all of that he describes. And this is all something that we will get to read only once in a while. Because generally when we say Ramcharitmanas, we don't go into these prasangas. That what happened on the way of this Bharat. Most popular prasangas that we see, like you will see Navadha Bhakti Prasanga, Kevat Prasanga. But here Goswamiji is just pointing us to a very different anubhava. You just be a part of that group and just see what all things are happening in Ayodhya right now. There is one composition Goswamiji has written called as Gitavali Ramayana. Like how he has Dohavali, Charitavali, like that he has Gitavali. There he writes one chaupai where he says, even the horses of Ayodhya were very special. Because they took Bhagwan when he went for Vanavasa. And for 14 years when he was gone, they looked only in that direction. And they would neigh, looking for him and not seeing anywhere else. That is why he says, I'm going to describe even the horses over here. They are not ordinary horses. They are jivas which have done a lot of punya and have become horses in Ayodhya right now. So let us see, let us chant this Chaupai. So Dashrath Maharaj is now calling Bharatji and he says, get ready for arranging all these things. Okay, one we will chant after 297. भूप भरत पुनि लिए बोलाये, हय गय स्यंदन साजहु जाये, चलहु बेगी रघुबीर बराता, सुनत पुलक पूरे दो भ्राता। भरत सकल साहनी बोलाये, आय सुदीन मुदित उठि धाये, रचि रुचि जीन तुरग तिन्ह साजे, बरन बरन बर बाजी बिराजे, सुभग सकल सुखि चंचल करनी, अय इव जरत धरत पग धरनी, नाना जाति न जाहि बखाने, निदरि पवनु जनु चहत उड़ाने, तिन सब छयल भये असवारा, भरत सरि सबय राजकुमारा, सब सुंदर सब भूषण धारी, कर सर चाप तून घटी भारी, छरे छबीले छयल सब, सूर सुजान लवीन, जुगपद चर सवार प्रति, जय असि कला प्रवीण, सियावर रामचंद्र की जय, पवन सुत हनुमान की जय, उमापति महादेव की जय, बोलो भाई सब संतन की जय, सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय. So Dashrath Maharaj calls Bharatji and he says, get ready, arrange all these horses, chariots and elephants so that we can go to Mithila Nagari now. Bharatji calls all the in charges, who are there for the horses. There were different people in charge of taking care of different parts of the king's army. So horses separate, elephants separate, charioteers were separate. They were so excited that they have gotten this command from Bharatji now. They have to decorate all the horses to take it to Bhagwan Rama's wedding. So they beautifully decorate the horse, put a very nice saddle on top of that horse. How are those horses? Goswamiji says they were so beautiful and they would fly like wind. When that horses moved, it looked as though they are flying, not running. That swift they were. And all the princes who were there, just like Bharatji, they took guard on these horses. Because horse, you need a very good horse rider. So all the princes were very well trained. They took their positions on these horses. And all of them were very, very, well dressed. And each horse had 2 foot soldiers along with them. 2 foot soldiers, and these young warriors also were very skilled. Goswamiji gives another indicator of how these horses were. They would run on water as though they would run on ground. They were so swift that even if they ran on water, it would look as though they are running on the ground. And horses have that hoof, right, below. That hoof also would not get wet. That swift they were, means that foot would not even go down in that water. That was their swiftness. Okay, very strong. And probably they had their own names, all these horses, because they are just like a member of the family. They'll be taken care of just like a member of the family. Now all of them, they know that they need a area to get on top of these horses. Everybody has to have a meeting point. so many people are there. Looking at Goswamiji's description, it looks like entire Ayodhya went for this wedding. Hardly anybody was there in Ayodhya. So they say, we cannot get into these horses in the city. Let us arrange ourselves on the outskirts. So much of planning, huh? So all of them take the horses on the outskirts and then they arrange themselves. Now, while they are waiting, because everybody has to come, right? So they are practicing different skills. Just with those drums which are there, they are practicing taking these horses in different directions and doing different feats with that horse. Now he described how the horses looked. Now Goswami is describing how the chariots looked. This is the second chaupai after 298. Ratha sa rathina vichitra banaye dhwaja pataka mani bhushan alaye. All the chariots also were very beautifully decorated with jewels and gems and everything. And they were tied with bells. They made a sound when they were going. And they looked so beautiful as though they were challenging the chariot of sun god. It is considered as one of the most exquisite chariots. Even those chariots of sun god, they were looking ordinary in front of these chariots. And then these beautiful horses that were there, they were tied to all the chariots. And this is that analogy Goswamiji used. Jay jala chalahi, thalahi ki nai, tapana buda bega adhikai. They were so swift, they would walk on water as though it was running on ground, just to show their swiftness. Now the charioteers, they call their masters. Okay, now horses are ready. Whichever horses have to be put on chariot, they are ready. Now the charioteers, who are also very skilled, they call all their masters, say, we are ready now. You can come and get on these chariots. So all of them climb on their chariots, but in the outskirts of the city. Okay, all of them are outside. And they get to see a lot of auspicious omens. Later, Goswamiji writes one full doha. Okay, 4 chaupais he describes what are the auspicious omens all the Ayodhya Vasis saw on the way to Mithila. Okay, he's as though taking us along with him on that journey. Now you said chariots are described, horses are described. What about elephants? He said that also I will describe in a few chaupais. So elephants were also decorated. All of them were, there were seats with canopies which were kept on top of those elephants so that people could sit. And then they had bells tied around these elephants. The sound that these bells made was just like the clouds, when they thunder, the monsoon clouds, the sound that they make, it was like that. And all other vehicles were there, palanquins were there, because not everybody would get on horses and elephants. Goswamiji writes later that in particular, Brahmanas who were there, Guru Vasishtha and other people, they would not go on these vehicles. Everything was according to protocol. You said different vehicles were there for different people. And all of it was ergonomically designed. Goswamiji writes this, Bahana apara aneka bidhana, sibika subhaga, sukhasana jana. Sukhasana means what? Where you can sit very comfortably. Ergonomics, what we say in today's terms. That is how all these vehicles were there. And there were Brahmanas who were also traveling along with Dashrath Maharaj. And looking at them, it felt as though Veda mantras have taken a human form. Tina chadi chale bipra bara brunda, janu tanu dhare sakala shruti chanda. Such a beautiful expression. He says all the chandas, different meters which are there in Vedas, as though they have taken a human form. That is how it looked when all the Brahmanas were there. And then there were other bards, singers, all of them are going along. And different animals also carried all materials for the wedding. What are those animals? There were mules were there, camels, bulls. In those times, they must be used, for all this transportation. And then there are millions of people gathered, different people carrying things. Almost entire Ayodhya is going for this wedding now. But everybody's heart is filled with only one emotion. What is that? When will we get to see Bhagwan Rama and Lakshmanji? With that joy, with that enthusiasm, everybody is getting ready to go to Mithila. Kabahi dekhibe nayana bhari, Ramu Lakhana do veera. When are we going to see Bhagwan Rama? Darshana Abhilasha, the desire to see Bhagwan's form, that is there in these Ayodhya Vasis. Now all the elephants, horses, everybody is making a lot of noise. Elephants are trumpeting, horses are neighing, and then it looks as though, there are clouds which are striking in the sky. That much of sound is there. Drums are getting beaten. Everything is happening. So much so that nobody can hear each other. They're gathered outside. Nobody can hear each other. Now Dashrath Maharaj is getting ready. He has to come from his palace to the outskirt, right? Because everybody else has gathered there. Dashrath Maharaj is still in his palace. So Goswamiji takes the camera again to the palace. He says there is so much of crowd in Dashrath Maharaj's palace that if you throw a stone, it will get powdered into dust. You see his expression. Huh? This is after 300 Doha, second Chaupai. Mahabhira bhupati ke dware, raja hoi jai pashana pabare. So much of crowd has gathered. If you throw a stone, it will get powdered into dust. That much of crowd is there. And all the queens, they go to the terrace of that palace and see all the celebrations which are happening, all the preparations that are happening. And in their hand, they have arati. Something auspicious is going to happen. They are going to start a new journey. So they're having that arati in their hand. Now, when everybody is ready, everybody is getting so overjoyed with this preparation, Sumantra, he comes with 2 chariots. This is the first time Goswamiji introduces Sumantra ji. It is said Dashrath Maharaj trusted only Sumantra as his charioteer. Because more higher you are in your cadre, especially for kings, you cannot have ordinary charioteers. They need to be very skilled and very sharp when it comes to warfare. When to go ahead, when to come back. That is why Karna in Mahabharata says, even though other warriors have been defeated in our army, if I have a good charioteer, I can still go and fight. That's why he makes Shalya, as his charioteer. And Shalya was considered to be very skilled in this. Means even if king gets hurt in the battlefield, the charioteer can save. Right? That's why Bhagwan places Buddhi as his charioteer. Buddhim tu sarathim vitti. In the battlefield of this human body, sense organs have failed, mind has failed. Means it has gone here and there. If Buddhi is in right place, it can save the king. So Sumantra was a very trusted charioteer of Dashrath Maharaj. So he brings 2 chariots. And both of them are very beautiful, very well decorated, everything. One is having those things which the king will require. One chariot has those things which the king will need. And another chariot is very, very sattvic. So you can guess who is going to climb on which chariot. Dashrath Maharaj first brings Vasishtha Maharshi, escorts him to his chariot, and that then gets on to his own chariot. This is just to show how much of reverence Dashrath Maharaj had for his guru. Tehi rata ruchira Vasishtha kaha harashi chadai naresu. 301. First he makes our Vasishtha Rishi get on his chariot, and then he goes on to his own. In his mind, before starting, there should always be remembrance of Bhagwan. So he remembers Lord Shiva. He remembers his Guru, remembers Gauri ji, Parvati ji, and remembers Ganesh Bhagwan. With them in their heart, how did Dasharath Maharaj look along with Vasishtha Maharshi? Goswamiji said, he looked as beautiful, just like Indra looked along with Brahaspati Rishi. Means king who is strong, king who is brave, and he has the guidance of his Kula Guru. That combination is, unbeatable. We saw in the story, right, of Bhagavatam, when Brahaspati Rishi leaves Indra, all his power goes away. Then he goes to Vishwarupa and then makes him his Guru. So here Dasharath Maharaj looked so beautiful along with Vasishtha Maharshi. Now he has done everything traditionally. Until this point, all decorations have been done, all preparations have been done in the traditional way. And now seeing that everybody is ready, he blows his conch. That he has gotten blessings from Vasishtha Maharshi. Now he blows his conch that we are ready to go to Mithila. All devatas are very happy. They start beating their drums, celebrations start. Flowers also they must have thrown from above. Now there is sound everywhere. There is sound on the earth, sound in the sky. Devatas are having their own celebration. All the people down in Ayodhya, they are having their own celebration. And according to the time, according to occasion, there are different ragas that they sing. You should not sing any raga at any time. If you sing Malhara at this time, it will start raining. Right? Mega Malhara one should not sing. There are joyous ragas which are there, so that they start singing. Shahanai they play. Sarasa Raga Bajahi Sahanai. Goswamiji writes here that they are playing. You see, another interesting thing is they have live entertainment. The fourth chaupai is that they have a long journey to do, long journey to take. People will get bored, right? Just walking. It will become like any other yatra that they're doing. So this is a festive atmosphere, right? So how are they entertaining themselves? Goswamiji writes, there are gymnasts on the way. Gymnastics people are doing, different feats they are showing while they are on the way. And then there are actors also. Theater play is going on while these people are walking. You see that fourth chaupai. Ghanta ghanti dhuni barani na jahi sarava karahi paika faharahi. And there are different feats that people are showing. Gymnasts are doing different things. Karahi bidushaka kautuka nana hasa kusala kala gana sujana. They are doing some kind of humor is there, some theater is there. All these things are happening while this procession is going. How we have in-flight entertainment, like that this is, while their journey is going. Now all the princes who are on these horses, they are also showing different feats, with that horse. So skilled they are. According to the drum beat, they are making these horses go in certain formations, certain patterns. It's a joy, while you are going, you are seeing all these things happening around. Now Goswamiji writes one entire doha. After 302, the chaupais which are there, all of them are about auspicious omen. Later he is going to say, he's doing a play of words. Auspicious omen are called as sagun. Okay, in Awadhi and even in Hindi, they call it as sagun. So he says, where there is Saguna Brahma, who is going to get married along with Paramashanti Rupa Sita ji, all this Sagun has to be there. Just to play on that word. Now he's going to describe what are those auspicious omen. It's so nice to read. It looks as though you are sitting in one of that palanquin and you are seeing what is happening on the left side and the right side. Okay, like that he is describing now. He says on the left side, while you are going on that procession, there is a bird, which is called as Neelakanta. It has a bluish, color to it. That bird was seen eating something on the left side. So that is one sign of auspicious omen. They would have their own. We should just see it. We don't have to get into omens and other things. He says on the left side, there was this Neelakanta bird. English name for that is Indian roller. Okay, you can search later. On the right side, there was a crow, which was there. That omen they saw. There was also a mongoose, which was there. And all children, everybody was seated in that procession. All of them are seeing these things on the left side and the right side. And how was the wind that was blowing? He says it was cool, soft, and fragrant. Very nice surrounding also when they were going. Everything is auspicious. One fox came on the way. They also saw one calf and a cow. Calf was drinking the milk. That auspicious omen they saw on the way. Then suddenly there was a herd of deer that came and crossed their street. Not one deer, herd of deers. They just came and crossed the street. Everybody was so happy to see those deers. Then there was a bird, a kite bird was there, but it's a white kite. That kite bird also they saw. And then they saw a Syama bird on the left side. Syama is another very beautiful, colorful bird. That was also sitting there. That bird they saw. And then they saw a man come with yogurt and fish. Okay, this is written over here. That is also a sign of, good omen. Sanamukha ayavu dadi aru meena. Holding fish and yogurt, curd. One person came in front. Everybody was happy. This is also an auspicious omen. Then they saw Brahmanas. Two Brahmanas holding a book in hand. They also were seen on the way. That was also very auspicious omen for them. And then it appeared as though everything auspicious happened at the same time. Mangalamaya, Kalyanamaya, Abhimata Phala Datar. Everything happened at the same time. Jaba Saba Sache Hovana Hita Bhaye Saguna Ekabar. All auspicious good omens which were going to happen, they happened together. Just in that duration, from their journey from Ayodhya to Mithila, all auspicious omens they saw. Then he writes this Chaupai. Mangala Saguna Sugama Sabatake Saguna Brahma Sundara Sutta Jake. Sons of whom are Bhagwan Rama and Lakshmanji, who are Saguna Brahma themselves. In their wedding, why would they not have all this Saguna? Why would they? All these auspicious omens are very simple, very easy to happen when Saguna Brahma is going to get married. And now, other people rejoiced, right? Ayodhya Vasis rejoiced looking at those omens. Now Goswamiji says, the omens themselves rejoiced. They said every time people doubt whenever they see these things, they say whether something good is really going to happen or not. But today they say, Brahmaji has made sure that we have come true. Abba kinhe biranchi hama sache. Bhagwan has made us to come true. That blessing he has given us. Means if Bhagwan is going to get married, these omens will definitely mean the right thing. Now Janak Maharaj comes to know that Ayodhya, this procession has started. They are on the way. He starts building bridges. As though it's a symbolic meaning that marriage is not only two people coming together, it's a bridge built between two families. But he's building a bridge on top of all rivers. Wherever there would be difficulties crossing, there he says, I will build a bridge. So whichever things might be there, where understanding is needed from both sides, that's a symbolic meaning. Build a bridge, let other party come and cross over. आवत जानी भानुकुल केतु सरितनि जनक बधाई सेतु. He's building all bridges on this rivers. And then he's getting houses ready for all the guests who are coming. And it was so beautiful, it looked as though it was Indra's Nagari. All houses were very nicely done. Atiti Devo Bhava, we say that Janak Maharaj is demonstrating. He doesn't even know who is coming. But he says, if they are my guest, I should give the best to them. And the way in which he gives, in the same way he receives. Later we will see how much of love Dashrath Maharaj showers on Janak Maharaj. Janak Maharaj again and again says, wait for one more day, wait for one more day. Like this, he ends up staying for 30 days, almost a month. He says, I'm a king. I have administration to do. I have to go back now. But Goswamiji writes here, he arranges food, every requirement is taken care of just according to the taste of those guests. And it is done in such a way that those guests, they forget their own homes. Nita nutana sukha lakhi anukule sakal baratahi mandira bhule. They forgot that they have a house in Ayodhya. In such a way, he has made all arrangements. How he has taken care of his guests. And now that he comes to know, there is a group which has come. All of them are almost arriving at the banks of the river, in the outskirts of the city. He is sending a welcome team at the outskirt. Okay, let them come. They will take some time to arrive at the outskirt. And then they will meet and be welcomed into Mithila Nagari. You will notice that everything is one prasanga. This entire prasanga was starting from Ayodhya. What all things happened there and how that journey was from Ayodhya to Mithila Nagari. As I said, this portion is once in a while we get to see. So we'll appreciate whatever portion we can take from it. Okay, we'll do our Nama Sankirtanam. अगणित गुणगण भूषण रामा आश्रित वत्सल जय जय रामा अयोध्यावासी सीतारामा आपद बांधव जय जय रामा दशरथ नंदन श्री रामा दशमुख मर्दन जय जय रामा कौसल्या सुखवर्धन रामा कामित फलदा जय जय रामा पाप विमोचन श्री रामा पट्टाभि रामा जय जय रामा जानकी वल्लभ सीता रामा जय रघुरामा जय सीता रामा वानर सेवित श्री रामा वारिधि बंधन जय जय रामा हनुमत पूजित सीता रामा श्री राम जय जय रामा रघुपति राघव राजा रामा पतित पावन सीता रामा श्री राम जय जय रामा श्री राम जय जय रामा सियावर रामचंद्र की जय सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय हरि ओम।